How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore, and today we are going to be working on a Acura TLX. We're going to be using the patterns cut out by Core directly from the computer. We did not make any adjustments to these. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so with this pattern I'm going to go ahead and start in the same place I always start, which is right here. And we're just going to make sure and line up all of these edges really well, and then we'll start tacking this down. This is definitely an edge we aren't going to want to wrap over because it's a really sharp bend. So let's go ahead and make sure we're right on the edge there. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start squeegeeing some of this out to tack this down. And then let's go ahead and work our way across the bumper, and we'll come back to this side. Alright, if you happen to pull it up like that, you're going to want to put some more slip solution underneath there. Otherwise that'll get real tacky and you're going to leave air pockets in there when you squeegee it down. Alright, I'm just making sure this is lined up. I am going to come over to this other side here and line this up first to make sure that we don't overstretch or understretch this area. Alright, so let's line this part up here and then right here. That's all looking really good. Let's squeegee this down, and then we'll go ahead and work this middle part here. So the bumper's got really deep divots right here for the license plate. I think we're going to be able to get rid of some of that, but I definitely am not going to be able to get all of that out. That's a really deep recess. Yeah. I'm going to look at trimming around those in the end. The problem is that once all this moisture dries out in here, these are going to have a real silver appearance to them. So trimming them is probably the best option. Alright, we want this to line up real good in here. We're going to put a little bit of stretch downward. As you can see, it does need about 1/4 of an inch worth of stretch. And then, let's see, that looks like it's lining up really good, so we might be stuck with a little bit of a finger here. I'm going to go ahead and put my hand here to stretch instead of at the bottom, and that's getting rid of the finger because we're just stretching this area instead of stretching the whole area. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and leave this like this. So we're gonna take care of the other side, and we'll get back to this here. All right, so first I'm gonna pull this back, get rid of any pre-tacking. All right, and let's go ahead and get this up into place first. That line looks really good. And it's hanging over just a tiny bit there. All right, and then to line this up, I had to pull this corner back a little bit. So once we get up to about here, we're gonna go ahead and stretch that into place and then squeegee it out. All right, and then let's work our way down. You can see this finger right here. We're gonna need a tiny bit of stretch this way to get rid of that, but we don't wanna overstretch yet because we need to get this down first. Let's make sure we're lining up good over here as well. All right, that's looking good. All right, we're gonna go across to here first, and then we'll come back and get this area down. Okay. All right, so this seam here is going to be coming back together. So we're going to need to get some tack solution in there on this part to make sure that when we go to bump this up against this part, this doesn't continue to pop up. That way we can get a really tight seam. Okay. Let's go ahead and work our way to here, and then we're going to need to stretch down a little, or just at least bring the pattern back this way. All right, so down here, it looks like we need to stretch down just a little bit. And let's see what that does for the rest of this here. We want to keep this overhang about the same all the way down. So let's bring it back this way a little bit and then stretch it down into place. All right, let's get a little tack in there. All right, let's get a little tack in this part. Okay, let's check and see what that left us over here, because we are going to need some stretch to get rid of these fingers, and that's why you want to make sure you're hanging over enough here, otherwise this isn't going to line up when you stretch it. And actually, let's stretch this into place, and then actually let's leave that like that. Let's get this part down and get this in place, because this looks like it's going to be more difficult with the recesses, and then we will stretch this up to this piece. All right, so we got a little bit popping up here. Let's go ahead and get some tack in there, push this down. Okay. Some air here, and then some water's traveled down here. Let's bring that back up. Okay. Let's kind of get this into place before we squeegee all this out. Okay, now let's see what we can do about bringing this over and tightening up this seam here. This is going to be a really tough seam to get to look really good and not get some wax and stuff caught up in it over time. Yeah, I mean, it's... Alright, so first things first, let's try to get this corner down. Because what's going to happen as we pull this over, it's going to create a finger right there. So I'm just pulling these two pieces together and then kind of rubbing my finger down the seam there. And that'll tell me if I'm hanging over onto the other piece of material, or if I'm butted up real nice, or if I have a gap there. Get a little bit of tack under there if I can. So we are hanging it over quite a bit here. As you can see, I mean, it's almost 1/4 inch hanging over. But I'm not finding that there's a way around that. We'll see how it goes on the other side and see if they turn out the same. So on a seam like this, because this was a rounded corner here, you're always going to end up with a gap there. I kind of wish they'd just do a straight line there, but I'm not sure why they chose to do that with, you know, that rounded edge. All right, let's get this part down and then we'll bring this part into it. Let's see here. So we know that this is going to need a little stretching right here, and this has been drying for a little bit, so we're going to want to make our stuff a new area to stretch from. So we're going to come down about 1/2 inch. Let's see if we can get rid of most of that finger first. All right, let's come over to this area to right about there. And then we're gonna need to, let's get ourselves a new stretch area. Okay, now as that's starting to tack a little, we're gonna go ahead and stretch down until we're lined up good here, and we're gonna stretch down to that corner, and then we'll squeegee this out. Let's get rid of that. Now that I pulled that back, we're gonna need a little bit more slip in there. I'm gonna put a little bit of tack right up in here. And then let's go ahead and, well, let's see what we have here. So we can do a little bit of a stretch back this way. Then let's squeegee this out. Uh-oh, that tack solution's actually coming back to bite me a little. Let's just go ahead and stick with the slip. Now let's put a little tack in there. So this looks like it's intentionally hanging over the edge a little so that you can wrap it in. That's pretty nice. Okay, let's go ahead and squeegee this out. Just be careful not to fold that line over on itself. See that air in there? Go ahead and pull that back and put a little bit more to slip in there. Alright, now I'm going to put some tack in there and go ahead and see if we can squeegee this down. Okay, let's get a little tack in here too. Get this down. Kind of surprised that goes way in there. I mean, it fits and goes on nicely. It's just surprising that they made that go so far. Let's see here. Looks like they want a little bit of stretch on this towards the back, which is interesting. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of hold that in place with my other finger and then squeegee towards my finger. All right, we're gonna come back to this part later. get some tack up in all this here. Okay, now let's go ahead and get some stretch here and see what it's going to take to bump up to this edge. It was definitely a good idea to do this part first. Okay, and let's see if we stretch this all the way to being up against this other piece. That leaves us a pretty good line here, right at this corner. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can pull this a little bit back and forth if necessary to get it to line up just right. But the seam is probably, you know, was one of the more important parts in this situation. So I tried put some tack on there, and now I'm thinking that's not a great idea. My slip is pretty tacky today. Might be the temperature in here. I've got 8 milliliters today of the 7th generation dish soap. So like I've said a bunch of times, just kind of filling that line, making sure it's really good and tight, and then we're going to squeegee this out once it's in place. We definitely don't want this moving around, so if it's popping up at all, we want to put a little tack in there. Okay, it's good all the way down to here. Underneath there, you know, nobody's going to be able to see that, so we're only going to be able to get that as tight as it wants to go, and that's not going to be a big deal. Well, let's see, how are we looking up here? Yeah, before I wrap that in, I'm going to go ahead and check this line here. It looks like we're kind of coming off a bit right here, but with the seam right there the way it is, that, you know, we can only do what we can do here. So let's try pushing this up and getting this lined up really good. And actually that's working just fine. I kind of left some fingerprints in it right here. Let's pull that back. Black is, you know, the most difficult color to put paint protection film on. So you've got to be really careful with your fingerprints and things. Okay, let's see. Doesn't feel like it lifted up right on the line, which is good. Let's get some tack underneath there and get that pushed down. Okay, now let's check over here and see what we've got going. So we are tacking a little bit here. So let's take care of that first. Okay. Now we do need a little bit more stretch, but because we put some stretch in all of this, we should be able to pull this over without creating much for fingers over here. All right, so something like that looks really good. So I'm gonna hold this down here in place, and then we're gonna go ahead and squeegee out across the front here, and then we're gonna work our way up and then work our way down. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and go up with this. I think up until about here I'm going to be able to do this without any tack solution. We're going to find out though. Alright, we are going to need some tack. So you can see that I'm not actually stopping on the film. I'm just going to the edge and then kind of keeping this part pressed against the very edge of the material. Definitely don't want to stop anywhere in the middle on your way up because you will create lines in the adhesive. Okay, that's all looking good for now. All right, and then let's go ahead and push this part down. Oh, this actually comes up, or this separates right here in on the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift this back up. Put some slip solution underneath there, and then we're gonna make sure that this stays right up against that edge all the way for the visible part anyway, until it goes way under. So I'm kind of stretching this over and hanging over a little bit, and then come through with my finger and slowly pull the material back. Just gonna squeegee that out. And see how we've kind of left some distortions or some air in the adhesive there. Let's see what we can do about that. All right. Okay, that's all. That's lining up real good. I like that seam a lot. Let's take a look at all this. We've got a little bit popping up here. So let's force this to stay down. Let's see, what can you see? I've got a little weird thing going on today where I'm using 2 GoPros. So I'm not using the Sony today because I left the stand at home. So I'm kind of just trying to figure this out with the 2 GoPros. So the video might be a tiny bit funky, but we should be able to make something work here. So that looks like it's really stuck down now. You don't want to let that sit for too long because then it will make a line like this wherever, you know, at the edge where it's popped up to. All right, let's take a look here. All right, let's spray these edges down and then see what we can do about tucking them in a bit more. All right. A little bit popping up right here. And actually, let's put a little tack too right over there. All right, so we are gonna have to come back and trim that right there, but that shouldn't be too big of a deal. But trimming on that line right there is gonna, you know, kind of affect the seam. You can get a tighter seam if you butt them up to each other, but coming back and trimming it, you're probably gonna leave a tiny gap in there. All right, let's go ahead and bump these edges a little bit so that moisture doesn't continue to pull up the edge and go down in there. Okay. All right, let's get this part down here. So I just put tack in there, and I think mostly what I'm gonna do is work this down with my finger, and then I'll come back and squeegee down over it. I don't see that you're gonna get that good of a seam right here, but I think in a situation like this, we're definitely more concerned with having some coverage than a great seam so low down on the bumper. Okay, that looks like that went down really well. All right, so I am just gonna let the camera continue to roll, but I'm not gonna really go over the install on this side unless something changes from the other side. It's just kind of redundant. I'll kind of speed through this in the video, and then we'll get to work on some of the other parts here, or maybe I'll throw this in at the very end of the video so you can see it if you wanted to, but I don't think it's gonna be super informative. Terrific. All right, let's go ahead and get a piece on here, and then we'll do the middle, and then we'll work on this piece here, and then we'll get up top. All right, let's go ahead and get this piece on here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start right here. All right, so I'm gonna kind of make sure I'm lining up here, and then making sure we're not bumping into the back here. Go ahead and go across the face on this. All right, so this isn't gonna line up at all. Okay. Let's go ahead and install this piece. I'm gonna go ahead and start over here at this edge and then work my way across. So I'm just lining up this top part here. Wrap that under. Oop. All right, it's kind of slippery still. All right, that looks good. So let's move over to the other side. We'll line this up and then we'll work the middle out. let's get a little tack in there. Get this to stick down. So I'm just doing a little chomp here. And then we'll get underneath a little bit different angle and get that pushed down. Okay, let's work on the center now. All right, so I'm just trying to keep kind of a uniform line in the back there. We'll go ahead and squeegee the front of this out right here at the curve, and then we'll work our way back. Put a little tack on that very edge to make sure nothing comes back up. Okay. All right, so this little spot's popping up. We're gonna go ahead and put a little tack on there and make that stick down. All right, let's go ahead and get that little piece on the front here in between those two. All right, so in the video here, I installed these first and then moved on to this piece here in the center. That's the wrong way to do this. You need to put this piece on first and then these second so that you can do the seam right here. So I'm gonna go ahead, I pulled off the two sides and the center I already installed. I'm gonna leave that, and then I'm gonna use that to line up this piece here. So these are pulled back off, we're gonna redo these, and that's in there first. All right, so I recut these out in the computer. Let's go ahead and get these pieces on now that this piece is on. The line here will tell you how to line this part up. All right, so initially I thought that this is supposed to line up, that this piece here was supposed to bump into that back edge, and so this piece would then go over like this, but see this big gap it leaves. So what they actually want you to do, which I think is a terrible plan, let's see here, stay there you little punk. All right, so what they want you to do, which I'm not quite sure about if how much I like this. First, this still doesn't line up real good. And it's like they want you to go up this back wall right here, the face of the bumper in there. So I'm not quite sure. Let's see what happens. This still isn't gonna line up real good. Let's see if there's any way we can maneuver this to get that to fit better. All right, let's see if we can move this around here. See if something gets this to go together better. No, regardless of what you do, it wants you to go up that face back there, which I'm not sure. Way back there, it's like I think you're gonna get that bend right there. You're gonna get air trapped in there or water trapped in there, and then it's gonna have little air pockets. I don't know, it seems like a bad idea. But it's how they set it up with this centerpiece, so let's go ahead and see what we can do with it. Yeah, I don't... Okay, let's get this part down and then we'll fiddle around with that part back there. Alright, so let's get some tack. If we can, we'll get some tack in there. It's not really going in there very good, but let's go back to that where it turns up and try to get that line, or try to get that curve pushed out as much as possible. I left a little, just a tiny pocket of, oh, there it went. Okay, I got it pushed out. I can't tell if I did or not. Looks like it still might be in there. I'm gonna go pull this back just a little bit, right to right there. Get some tack in that part, and then we'll put some slip back under this part. That seems like it blew way under there. Alright, so I did it again. Okay. Okay, that worked. Now let's try to take everything up. Okay, well, I mean, that's on there. And it's all pushed out. I don't know. I get it. You can't put a piece on there probably if it's not attached to this, but that's a lot. I don't know. It worked. That's what I'm gonna say. All right, so let's go ahead and push this part out, and we'll come to like right here. Tack under there, and we're just going to take this out to this corner. Okay, now we can get to the rest of this here. The easier part. Get rid of this pre-tacking, and then we'll check and see how much stretching we need. So I'm checking the bottom down here, and I'm looking back there to make sure I'm not bumping up against the back edge. Because you're never going to be able to trim that material back in there. Okay. So if you're stretching that into place and then you're noticing that the material, when you let go of it with your hand, the material's moving back and creating those fingers again, you probably have too much slip in there. And there's a couple ways around that. One, take some of the soap out on your next mix, or two, get some tack solution in there when you're doing the stretch. So if I was stretching to here, I'd probably put the tack solution in this area here, just in front of my fingers. Okay. We're gonna need a little bit more stretch right here. All right, so once we get back to here, what we're gonna do is let go of that. Let me see, hang on. Oh, let's get some tack in here. Get this down first. All right, so once we get back to this part here, I'm gonna get rid of all of the stretch in this area. And what that's gonna do is just releases any tension. And when we squeegee this, it'll just help it stay down over time. There's no need for stretch there either, so. All right, so as I was coming around this, you could see that I was kind of slapping this edge, and Heather, hopefully, yeah. All right, so as we were working our way around here, you could see that I was kind of slapping this edge like this. And the reason for that speed on pushing that out is that the water was continuously pulling back because of the tension on this. The water was continually coming back up. So if you were to go real slow, the water was coming back up before the next squeegee. So you got to go real fast on it and work that down, and then you come back and do a more methodical push down in that area. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get this little section in here. All right, we're gonna go ahead and line that up right there, and then let's get some tack solution in there. This is gonna, because it's such a small piece, it's gonna move around a lot. Okay. And then let's see if it's just, For as far as over here goes, we are going to need to stretch this way some, so let's go ahead and tack this part on first, make sure it's lined up real good. And actually, it doesn't really look like much of a stretch at all. Yeah, it's not really a stretch, it's just an alignment. Okay, and then we'll tack in this center and we'll squeegee this out. So you can see there I started in the middle, and that's because if you start way over here and you pull everything this direction, it's very easy on such a small piece to actually stretch it a tiny bit, and that's going to give you a little potential finger over here that you might not be able to get rid of. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. All right, so I'm just trying to line up this back part, and then that should be good enough to get the rest of this to lay into place. Let's see how this goes. Looks like there's not much of a stretch down here, so we'll just squeegee this part out for now, and then we'll come back and do this wrapping here after we then squeegee out the top. A little tack in there. Okay, let's work up here now. Just gonna need a tiny stretch to get rid of that finger there. So we're gonna have to kind of go up.
Oh no, you're fine if you go into the gym for a few hours. We have lights in the top portion of your bumper and your mirrors and your windshield.
All right, and looks like
typically we close between 4:30 and 5. Yes.
all right. So I'm gonna go ahead. I got a little tack in here. Just push that down. Stick this part with the tack in it, and then we'll come back and get the rest of this out. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and spray some tack in this part. And let's go ahead and get this wrapped in. Okay, and then keep working our way down. I'm going to stick this part and then work my way up. Alright, so I'm going to try to get kind of off the face here. I'm going to hold it in place. And we'll start wrapping it around. Alright, let's work this around. I'm going to hold that with my finger because it wants to continuously pop up. Okay, there we go. Alright, this little corner edge here is popping back up, but that's going to go down when I heat seal the edges. So once that has some more time to cure, or to dry, or that once the adhesive has some more time to kind of dry out right there, that's actually going to push down, and then the heat seal will make sure it does not come back up. All right, let's go ahead and put this top piece on. All right, so it looks like this is going to line up right on the bottom edge. Let's get that lined up real good and squeegee up to this body line here. All right, so we know that this relief cut is supposed to be right at this ridge here. So that's lining up real good. We are gonna need a little bit of a pull or a stretch to get to right here. And then let's make sure this bottom line is lined up correctly. We can squeegee this out. All right, move on to the center here. And actually, let's move on to right here first. Okay, so we gotta line this up. We also want to make sure that this edge is as close as possible. There, that looks good. Let's try that again. I'm hanging over just a little bit, and I don't really want to do that. And it's still hanging over a tiny bit. Let's just see how that works. Nope, I'm gonna I'm gonna realign this again. And then we're gonna pull this back down into place, squeegee all this out. All right, just continue to work our way around. Actually, let's line this part up first, and that'll tell us how much stretch we need here. Negative amount of stretch. Okay, we are going to line this up and then see what we can do about these fingers here. All right, so let's get this front lined up and tacked down. And the reason I have fingers here is because I overstretched somewhere, and that's why this wasn't lining up. I had to pull it back this way. So definitely don't do much of any stretching out in here. These fingers, I think we're still gonna be able to work with those. All right, we're gonna kind of work our way up. Okay, let's see what we can do here with that guy. All right, a little tack underneath and a little slip on top. And let's push this guy up. Basically what I'm doing is taking it up little by little, and that'll help split that finger up so it's not just in one little space. And then I'm going up over the edge and just doing a swipe and hold. Make sure that that stays down. Let's get some tack in these, as well as across to the other side. All right, and then it looks like I am hanging over a little bit here. I'm probably gonna have to come back in the end and trim off that, probably like, I don't know, this might be a 1/16 up to as much as an 1/8 of an inch hanging over. Chances are, even if you do get that to tuck in and you put some heat on it, it's still gonna pop up later. That's a pretty sharp bend, and there's not gonna be much material trying to tack to that backside. So, you know, it's gonna be really hard for it to stay down and stay in there. Well, I don't know, I might try it, but chances are it's gonna come back up. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this back now. Get some tack solution in there. I don't know if you can see this, but that's already starting to pop back up. So maybe with some heat sealing you could get that to stick down, but I'm just gonna trim it off. I don't feel like longevity wise that's gonna last. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start in the middle here. And we'll start working our way across. Just gonna do some little slide chomps. Just make sure I'm over the edge real well. Okay. Oh, there's a little hole in the bumper right there. Must be for water to drain out or something. Material covers it. It doesn't seem like a big deal though. All right, now I'll just go ahead and continue and do that thing on the other side. All right, let's go ahead and put a piece on this grill. So we've got a piece here, and then a piece across the top, and then they also have this in there. So I believe this has got the some kind of sensors in it. I'm not sure about covering those with paint protection film. I'm not sure if there's any type of a liability there. If something was to happen to the paint protection film over time, would this affect how the car operates and things like that? What do you guys think? Have you guys done these or not done these during your installs? I normally do not cover these, but I'm sure that this is an expensive part. It probably could use some coverage or some protection. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's get started on it. All right, so because there is a mark right here in the middle, as far as you can tell that that's the center on the pattern, I'm gonna go ahead and start right here. And let's get a little tack in there just in case any of those edges are not completely stuck down. That way we can stretch away from this. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and head over this way. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and stretch to right here and tack this down. And then we're just going to slowly make our way over there. We don't want to hang over this edge on the bottom at all because this pattern does fit quite well. And let's not make it so that we have to do any trimming on this. All right, so there's a little ridge here right in the center of this, and I'm going to push that part out first and make my way across. Okay, and then I'll come across the bottom here. And then let's work our way up towards the grill. Tuck this in. A little slide chomp there. All right. Let's just go ahead and bring this up now, and then we'll get over to the other side. All right. Okay, let's get some tack in here. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I'd like to start right here. Let's see if we can get this to push down. Ooh, that's got some tension on it. I mean, it should be okay, but it's more than I was anticipating. Okay, that's gonna work out great. We'll go ahead and work our way up to the top. So we'll just kind of chomp this down. Awesome. All right, great. Moving right along. Okay, let's go ahead and pull this back. You all know the pre-tacking situation because I got a very tacky mixture of slip. And actually I put 8 milliliters in it today, which is more than I usually do. And it's still pretty tacky, so I think I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna really try something, because on a hood that's difficult, that is already stuck. Like just for me touching it, that's gonna stick on the peaks when you've got, can you see this? I can't tell. Well, anyway, here on the peaks, when you stretch material across this, those are really gonna stick because of the tension that's gonna be on there. So, and that's not gonna work real good for when you're doing a hood. That's gonna be a super big inconvenience. So I am going to try this week doing even more slip in there and or more soap in there and try to get this figured out real well. I mean, they told me to start with 4 milliliters, and I think that wasn't anywhere near enough slip, and you know, it's still pretty sticky, so whatever. All right, worked out the middle and then worked down to the bottom, and let's go ahead and get everything pushed down on the top. Ooh. All right. All right, let's try that again. There we go. Much better. Okay. Oh, Brent. I was pushed a little hard on there and popped this back up. So let's just get some tack in there so that we're not going to have these issues again. All right, there we go. Let's get this middle down just like the other side. And then we'll go ahead. Let's get this down here. Let's do a little chomp, and then let's work our way back down to our finger here. I mean, it's not really our finger, it's my finger, but you know, we're doing this together right now. So I've never done one of these, so this is just, you know, you're kind of figuring out as you go. That's why I had that issue down there. I put the wrong piece on first and then had to, you know, fix it. It's kind of a guessing game when you're doing a car for the first time, which is a lot. You know, I mean, that's pretty standard practice when you're installing paint protection film, is doing a car you've never done before, other than Teslas. Which I've done a basquillion of. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and put this piece on across the top here. All right, let's get a little bit of tack in here, because this is going to want to slide around a lot. All right, so I'm going to hold here on the bottom to align it. Do not go over that top. We don't want to be trimming up there. Okay, let's not spend too much time on that. Let's work our way across first. All right, let's get some more slip in the center, and then we're gonna get some tack on this end here. Let's go ahead and put the stretch on it that this is gonna need. Goodness gracious, that phone is ringing. Okay, right there. So we'll go right across the front there, and then we'll go work our way up. Let's go ahead and let's get some tack in all of this. Okay. All right. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and go right across that leading edge. And then we'll work our way up. All right, feel that's might continue to pop up right there in the center. So let's go ahead and bump that edge and dry it out a bit. Hopefully help keep it down. All right, then let's work our way down underneath here. All right, looks like we're gonna have to I was hoping I can just go sideways like that, but we're gonna have to chomp this one down. I mean, which is a perfectly fine technique for this. I just was looking at doing it different than this. Okay, now you want to go across this leading edge again, just to make sure that you didn't leave behind any slip solution or the tack solution. Now let's go ahead and put a slide chomp on that. Great. And then we'll go ahead and move on to this part. Okay, great. All right, so today we're gonna go ahead and put this piece on this sensor in the center of the grill here. I do not normally install this piece on cars. I'm not certain, if there's any type of legality or anything, as far as if this paint protection causes any type of a problem for the car to function like it's supposed to. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about installing over these type of sensors for vehicles now. I'm sure this is an expensive part, and having this covered seems like it definitely saves some money for the thing getting beat up. I guess this is going to get hit by rocks and stuff, so that's going to do plenty of damage to it. So maybe the paint protection isn't a big deal to put over these. Let me know in the comments what you guys think as far as covering these or not covering them. All right, so all that's going to be left to do on this bumper is to trim a few edges. We obviously need to heat seal all the edges still. I am going to cut around these little dots here in the bumper that are for lining up the license plate, but this one doesn't have that installed, so that's a really deep recess. We're going to go ahead and trim around that, and then that's it. I appreciate you guys taking a look. If you found anything useful or helpful, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.